So there's a lot of confusion out there today about the basic concept of compute within Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. The concept is the OCPU. What does that mean? What is an OCPU and how does it differ from, let's say, a vCPU? So to illustrate this, I am going to basically draw out a server at Oracle. We'll just call this a server. And this particular server is going to have two separate sockets on it. So let me draw out the sockets. Socket 1, this is going to be a Intel Xeon, and it's going to have 24 cores and 48 threads. The threads are because of hyperthreading. And since this has two sockets, let me go ahead and make a copy of this socket, and we'll add our second socket in. And then setting on top of these sockets is really where the OCPU comes into play. So I'm going to draw, we're going to say this green box illustrates a single core, so one core, or two threads. And let me go ahead and make a copy of this. So I'm showing multiple cores on this box. Now, obviously, this is not to scale. So I'm showing there's 24 sockets on the box, but on this diagram, I've got room for maybe 5. So on top of a physical core, I'm going to put a VM. And this particular VM is going to be using one OCPU or two vCPUs. So the one OCPU is referring to the fact that it is one thread, or I'm sorry, one core. vCPUs are referring to the number of threads, which are two. So if you're looking at it from an operating system perspective, you're going to see both threads presenting itself. If you're talking about a Windows environment, you go into Task Manager, you'll actually see two cores showing up there. If we created a different shape, let's say we have a VM that's utilizing two cores, that VM is now going to be using two OCPU or 4 vCPU. Two OCPUs, 4 vCPUs. And then the same concept expands out. So for instance, if we're using 4 cores for the VM, now that's going to be a total of 4 OCPUs or 8 vCPUs. Now, where this gets really important is kind of two different factors. One is all the pricing for Oracle is actually based on OCPUs. So that's the important metric that you need to know, you need to understand. Also, a lot of Oracle software licensing is going to be tied specifically to OCPUs. How many OCPUs are running that particular application? Now, a lot of the other software that you might be dealing with, let's say, for instance, Microsoft SQL Server, it's going to be concerned with the vCPU metric. So how many virtual cores are being presented to the operating system? So really key, very fundamental to understand the difference between an OCPU, a vCPU, and when one metric is important versus the other metric.